Washington's top military commander says the war against Islamic State is starting to turn. General Martin Dempsey was speaking during a visit to Iraq, where terrorist forces are being pushed back from the country's largest oil refinery. However, the real manpower, though, of the extremist group has apparently been vastly underestimated. In fact, as it turns out, the CIA had previously said the Islamist army numbers up to 31,500 troops. But according to Kurdish officials, the real figure is much more like 200,000, because the extremists have attracted volunteers from across the Arab world and that of Europe as well. Now, Islamic State is now preparing to take the next step in cementing its grip on power in certain parts of Syria and Iraq. As it turns out, it already has an army, a government, and a resource-rich economy. Now, the group wants to start minting its own currency to challenge the global monetary system. The most expensive coins, called dinars, will be made in two denominations. One dinar will be worth about $140, and the 5 dinar equivalent to almost 700. RT's Maria Finoshina now explaining how the terrorists' economy made it this far.
They always pose with the newest weaponry and the latest models of car. Today, ISIS is the richest terror organization in the world. Its annual income is estimated at around $2 billion, but many believe it could be much, much more. And this is the reason. Syria's petroleum capital, Raqqa, is now their main city too. Via Skype, we spoke to a man who works in Raqqa's oil refineries. He wouldn't agree to a video call. He's afraid of ISIS, he told us, but claimed not to be one of them.
Abu al-Hakam? Marhaba.
Islamic State are using converted water tanks to transport the petrol. They take it to reservoirs on the outskirts of Raqqa, where they find the refineries. They're using normal routes in front of everyone because they're not afraid of anything, as IS is protecting the trucks.
Part of the supplies stay in Raqqa and the region to serve locals. The area is cut off from governmental supplies. Another, bigger part goes on the black market.
It's being pushed through underground pipes towards Turkey in remote areas where no one can see them. Part of it's distributed by IS through brokers. Most of it's raw, but there's diesel and benzine as well.
The price is way below market, but revenues are still huge.
Every hour, around 200 oil tankers leave Raqqa. They even use fire trucks. I cannot give exact numbers, but from my knowledge, they make about $1 million a day or more because they control oil fields in Syria and Iraq.
Abu al-Hakam does not know whether the Turkish government is involved or where exactly the oil goes.
We have heard those criticisms. We continue to hear them even here in Washington, that Turkey has not done enough work before ISIS becomes what it is. The Turkish government is replying that what is it that they can do more to stop ISIS that the international community want Turkey to do. The Erdogan camp is saying, if you want me to move into Syria for 10 kilometers or 20 kilometers or even into Iraq, then you are going to give me a commitment that we're going to bring down the Assad regime.
The Turkish-Syrian border is just behind me right now, was and in fact still remains one of the major routes for weapons and fighters to be smuggled into Syria. But there is at least one thing making its way through this frontier in the opposite direction: oil.
We ask Abu al-Hakam how the situation has changed since the US-led campaign against ISIS began in the region.
They only targeted a few IS bases, and most of them were empty. It's an embarrassing position for the Americans because it's well known where the oil refineries are. Even a child in Syria knows. I cannot see anything more shameful than that, because Syrian oil is the main source of weapons and money for IS.
And while that oil continues to flow, the wealthiest extremist group in the world gets even richer and more powerful. Maria Finoshina, RT, Syria.